The LA Kings playoff chances feel like they're on life support. There is still time, but are the Kings capable of doing what they need to do? Would the Kings be better off not making the playoffs?
You are Locked On Kings, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Kings fans, welcome to Locked On LA Kings. I'm Eddie Garcia. On today's show, we're going to talk about one team that we know is going to make the playoffs, the Ontario Reign. We'll discuss the pros and cons of the Kings getting into the postseason this year and what has been a very inconsistent regular season. But we start with, what is the realistic chance the Kings will make the Stanley Cup playoffs this season? Here is the current situation going into Thursday's games. The Kings have 74 points. They're 4 points behind the Vegas Golden Knights for third place in the Pacific Division and an automatic playoff spot. The Kings do have a game in hand on Vegas. They do not play the Golden Knights in any head-to-head matchups the rest of the season. Vegas, like the Kings, are stumbling of late, having lost 4 of 5. Meanwhile, LA is 3 points behind the Nashville Predators for the final wildcard spot in the West. Both teams have played the same number of games, 71. The Kings will face the Predators twice before the season ends, April the 2nd and April the 6th, both in Los Angeles. And don't forget, the Kings, because of all the overtime and shootout points, cannot be tied with either Vegas or Nashville in points because they do not hold the tiebreaker over either of them, which is regulation wins. The Golden Knights have 24 regulation wins. The Predators have 25, while the Kings have just 18. In an article in The Athletic from Wednesday, they had a list of the odds of all the teams in the NHL making the playoffs. The article said, quote, "The projections are based on 50,000 simulations of the remainder of the season, which factors in each team's projected strength, current health, and strength of schedule," end quote. Now, despite the Kings riding a losing streak, this article still had the Kings with the best odds of landing the final wildcard spot in the West, even better than the Nashville Predators, who are hot right now. The article had the Seattle Kraken at a 5% chance of making the playoffs. They had the San Jose Sharks at 10%. The Winnipeg Jets were at 15%. The Nashville Predators, 39%. And the LA Kings had a 58% chance of making the playoffs. Now, they projected the Kings to finish with 88 points. The Kings have 74 points right now. So, with my very awful math skills, I still think I can figure out the Kings will need 14 out of a possible 22 points in their final 11 games. So, my first question was, have the LA Kings at any stretch of the season over an 11-game period earned at least 14 points? And the answer is yes. They've actually done it twice, but it's been a while. From October 26th through November 17th, the Kings earned 16 points in 11 games with a record of 7-2-2. And from November 9th through December 2nd, the Kings earned 15 points in 11 games with a record of 6-2-3. Now, obviously, they haven't done it in this calendar year, and the Kings haven't even won 2 in a row since they did it in January when they won 3 straight. The Kings, since winning 3 in a row in January, have a record of 6-9-5. So despite all that, a computer says the LA Kings have the best odds of landing the final wildcard spot in the West. So that's what the computer says. What does the eye test say? Well, for me, it's pretty easy. The Kings have lost 4 in a row. And yes, in 3 of them, they did get a point, overtime shootout losses. The Predators are riding a season-high 5-game winning streak. I think anyone with any common sense, if you had your choice, you're going to pick the Nashville Predators to beat the LA Kings for that final wildcard spot, which they are currently holding on to and which they have the tiebreaker over. One team's playing their best hockey of the season and the other, the Kings, are not. So to me, the eye test wins over the computer test, but we'll see. I hope I'm wrong. I hope the eye test is wrong. Now, there were no games played on Wednesday that had any kind of impact on the Kings' playoff hopes. But on Thursday, there will be some big games. You've got the Predators taking on the Devils. The Golden Knights are hosting the Oilers. And the Kings are at the Canucks. The Kings have to win this game. And now I'm not saying that because they will not be eliminated if they lose this game. But they have to win this game. They have to have 2 points against the worst team in the NHL. The Canucks are dead last in points in the NHL. As a matter of fact, they're one of only 2 teams in the league, the other being the Rangers, which happened on Wednesday, to be officially eliminated from the playoffs so far. Now, if the Kings win against the Canucks, which they have to do, and the Predators lose in regulation, Kings are 1 point out of the final wildcard spot, and they still have those 2 head-to-head games coming up with Nashville. So it's certainly realistic. If the Kings win and the Golden Knights lose in regulation, LA would be 2 points out of third place in the Pacific and that automatic playoff spot. And the Golden Knights are kind of reeling right now. So look, it's still there. But the way the Kings have played of late, I don't know that I'd be surprised at anything that they do in terms of losing. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they turn it around. I hope they get into a playoff spot, but we'll see. We'll see if the computer simulation is the reality or if the eye test is the reality. Now, I said after the shootout loss to the Flames on Tuesday, I have no confidence in this team doing what that computer says that they're going to do. Now, could they get hot at the right time? They could. Am I expecting that? No. If they somehow do not get 2 points against the Canucks, I will say they're done. They will not be officially eliminated. But in my mind, if the Kings can't beat the worst team in the NHL with all that's on the line for them, then I have officially no hope of this team making the playoffs. Now, would it be a good thing for the Kings to not make the playoffs? We will talk about that next here on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. Spring is a natural reset point, and if there is one thing that can quietly cost businesses money, it's messy communications, missed calls, scattered texts, no clear thread of who said what. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Quo. It is the smarter way to run your business communications. Quo is the #1 ranked business phone system on G2 with over 3,000 reviews, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses. It lets your entire team share one business number so you never miss a call, text, or opportunity. Everything lives in one clean thread: calls, text, voicemails. The whole team sees the conversation so nothing falls through the cracks, and the AI summaries save serious time by logging calls and highlighting your next steps automatically. It just makes your business feel more organized and more responsive. Make this the season. No opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/LockedOnNHL. That's QUO.com/LockedOnNHL. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. And what if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood Prediction Markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood Predictions Markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but I never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contacts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. So if you've listened or watched this show for any length of time, you've probably heard me say that as a Kings fan, I could never actively root for this team to lose. I'm just not wired that way. I don't do it. I won't do it. Even if I know deep down it might be better for them in the future. So I thought we would look at some reasons why it would benefit the Kings to make the playoffs this year. Well, the first benefit is they would still be alive for a chance at winning the Stanley Cup. I know it would not be a good chance. It would be a very small chance, but so you're saying there's a chance, as they said in Dumb and Dumber. But, nothing's guaranteed except you can't win the cup if you miss the playoffs. We know that. So if you get in, you still have a chance, even if it's a tiny chance. So that is a benefit of making the playoffs. Look, every great story is about a team overcoming the odds, right? It's possible. Not likely, but possible. So as far as benefits of making the playoffs, if you're looking at it from just a business standpoint, obviously playoff games are the money makers for franchises. Now, depending on how far you go, it can be a very big money maker for a franchise. We're talking millions of dollars per playoff home game. So clearly it would benefit the Kings from a business standpoint to earn more money. And you do that by making the playoffs. Now, if the Kings make the playoffs, it would be a 5th straight season the Kings have been in the postseason. That's something that has only been done in the 58-year history of the LA Kings on 3 other occasions. So if the Kings qualify for the postseason, they would be in rare company within the franchise and also within the current NHL. If the Kings make the playoffs this year, only 4 other current NHL teams would have longer active postseason streaks than the LA Kings. So always good to be amongst the best of the best in the NHL from that perspective. You would have the franchise getting more exposure, generally speaking. That's good for the franchise. Let's just be honest. Casual fans, the local media, they're going to pay more attention to the LA Kings if they're in the playoffs. They're going to give more attention to that than they would if the Kings were just playing a regular season game. So brighter spotlight, more exposure, that kind of a thing. Now, usually you would say it would benefit a team to make the playoffs because that's playoff experience for your roster. That's really not the case, though, unfortunately, for the Kings this year because they have such a veteran roster. Everybody on the roster, for the most part, has played in multiple playoff games. As a matter of fact, if you look at the current Kings roster, there's only 2 players who have never appeared in a NHL playoff game. And that would be Jared Ward and Taylor Ward. I just made them into one players. Jared Wright and Taylor Ward, the only 2 players in the Kings roster who have yet to appear in an NHL playoff game. Everybody else has been there before, but hey, I guess it never hurts to get more playoff experience. And of course, from a sentimental standpoint, the benefit of the Kings making the playoffs, Anze Kopitar's career doesn't end in the regular season. The captain would go out playing meaningful playoff games and one final shot at winning the Stanley Cup. Yes, a small shot, but a shot is still a shot. So what are some of the reasons the Kings would not benefit from making the playoffs? Well, it would snap their streak of 4 straight years being in the playoffs if they don't make it. That means no extra money, and that does get the attention of ownership. Now, regardless of how much you think a certain ownership group is invested in winning or not, I promise you, all of them are invested in making money. That's why they bought the team in the first place. Even, whoever you think is the greatest owner in the NHL, maybe that guy in Utah who seems like such a fan, does all these great things, spends money, really seems to, care about the team and all that and the fans. Even that guy is in it to make money. So if the Kings miss the playoffs, that certainly could be a factor in off-season changes if you think that's important. And I think a lot of Kings fans would certainly believe that if the Kings miss the playoffs, even if they make the playoffs and lose in the first round again, I think a lot of people would believe that. So a potential coaching change, changes to the roster, and maybe even front office changes if the Kings miss the playoffs. As far as the coaching change, I think DJ Smith has done what he can on the fly to try and get this team going in the right direction with limited success. But if the Kings miss the playoffs, I don't see any scenario in which DJ Smith would be made the head coach moving forward. If they make the playoffs, that certainly increases the chances. But again, we're talking the what ifs if the Kings don't make the playoffs. And like I said, if they miss the playoffs, I can't imagine a scenario where DJ Smith is the head coach. So you have a change there. If the Kings miss the playoffs, we could certainly see changes in the organization. Luc Robitaille as team president, he has seen the Kings make the playoffs 5 times. They've been eliminated in the first round each time. And then for them to take a step back this year with all the changes made, with the money spent on bringing in a new GM, firing a coach who you're still going to have to pay to not coach the team, those things could all factor in to seeing a change in the front office, to seeing Luc Robitaille finally being replaced or stepping down or moving to a different position. And certainly there are a lot of fans out there that feel like it's time for a different direction for this organization, and replacing Luc Robitaille would certainly seem to be a step in that direction. That would be a significant change within the organization. If the Kings make the playoffs, I think the odds are that Luc would stay. Certainly if they have success in the playoffs, you got to believe there's not going to be any changes at all. So benefits from the Kings not making the playoffs, we could see a new hand on the rudder to steer the LA Kings going forward. Of course, the other thing would be that the Kings, if they miss the playoffs, would get a better position in what is supposed to be a very good 2026 NHL draft. Now, as it stands going into Thursday's action, where the Kings are, they would be picking 10th based on current points in the NHL. Now, the Kings picking 10th would also still have a chance at winning the number 1 overall pick with the draft lottery. Only the bottom 11 teams in the league can have a chance at getting the number 1 overall pick. Now, it would be a smaller chance if the Kings were at 10, 3.5%. But again, so you're saying there's a chance. If they make the playoffs, the Kings would pick no lower than 17th. So again, missing the playoffs, what's the benefit? Kings would get a better draft pick for sure. I guess you could also say if the Kings don't make the playoffs, that's extra rest for next season. I mean, this season has been a hard one, especially with the condensed schedule, the Olympic schedule, for guys like Adrian Kempe, Joel Armia, guys that have, made the Olympics and played most of the season. Some extra rest might be a benefit if the Kings don't make the playoffs. So, like I said, I cannot actively root against the Kings to lose, even if I feel like it could benefit them to miss the playoffs. But I'm also honest enough to say, if I'm being objective and I'm looking at it, are the Kings better off making the playoffs or missing the playoffs? I don't know how anyone could honestly say the Kings aren't better off probably missing the playoffs. Again, I'm not rooting for that. I hope that they make the playoffs because that's just the kind of fan I am. I want to see my team have success. I want to have that shot at winning another cup, even if it's just this tiny shot. I want to take our shot. But again, taking a step back, objectively looking at it, the potential for change in the organization, which I think is needed, getting a better draft pick in what is a deep draft, I think those things are clearly more beneficial to the Kings going forward than them having a slim shot at doing anything in the postseason. If I'm looking at it that way, I got to be honest, that's probably the case. We don't have to worry about the Ontario Reign missing the playoffs. They are going to be in the playoffs. And if the Kings miss the playoffs, we'll be talking a lot about them. We're going to talk about them next here on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. College basketball is nonstop, big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night, and things are really going to heat up now as the NCAA tournament gets deeper and deeper. And now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want, from the traditional powers to the Cinderella stories, whatever you want. You can mix spreads, totals, and player props to match how you see each game playing out, and then you can apply the profit boost and instantly bump up the potential payout. Get those brackets examined, go safe, go bold, and follow your team you've followed all year long, or if they lose, pick a new team. It's your parlay, your style, now with more upside behind it. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. Hey, don't forget to check out the Everydayer Club for ad-free episodes and access to a group chat. Head to lockedonlakings.supercast.com or tap the link in the show notes. Well, the LA Kings AHL affiliate, the Ontario Reign, have not officially clinched a playoff berth yet, but it is only a matter of time as they are on top in the Pacific Division. They are going to be in the playoffs, and this is one of the better Ontario Reign teams it seems that we've seen in a while, at least since I've been doing this show. So it'll be great to see them. There's no downside to the Ontario Reign making the playoffs. You want those guys to get as many games as possible. They will certainly benefit from a deep run in the postseason, get those guys as much experience. So certainly hoping that we see that. The Reign have played 3 games since we last had a report from our Ontario Reign fan correspondent, Don in the San Fernando Valley. So he checks in to give us a little more detail on how the Reign have played lately. We go back to Wednesday, March the 18th, when Ontario was hosting the Abbotsford Canucks, and the Reign post a 3-1 win. And Don says that Phoenix Copley made 24 out of 25 saves and was selected the number 2 star of the game. He said Kenny Connors had a weird goal while lying on his back. Martin Chromiak slid the puck to him, and the prone Connors scored on a quick, desperate sweep shot along the ice that the goalie didn't seem to be ready for. Now, apparently, Don did not know, as we learned later, that Kenny Connors lost his skate blade on that shot, and that's why it was as he called it, laying on his back in a desperate sweep shot. So Kenny Connors, that was the Kenny Connors missing skate blade goal, which I've never seen before. Connors also scored an empty net goal to put the game away with 15 seconds left for the first 2-goal game of his career, or for his 2-goal game, I should say. Kenny Connors was selected the number 1 star of the game. He's got 11 goals now on the season at that point. Cohen Zemer had a solid game, showed physicality, and scored his 10th goal of the season in the second period, was chosen the number 3 star. And Don says Zemer is starting to look a little more like the power forward he was developing into in junior hockey. His scoring and his plus minus are both up. Next season will be a huge season for him in terms of development to see if he will make the NHL. Meanwhile, his present growth spurt, if it continues, will be a big help to the Reign down the stretch and will raise Zemer's value. He also said Angus Booth and Kirill Kirsanov continue to be the number 1 defensive pair, and they played very well in this game. On to Friday, March the 20th, the Ontario Reign were in Iowa to take on the Iowa Wild, and they would lose in this one 4-1. And Don said both teams showed energy and some good checking. Reign didn't score until there was less than 5 minutes left in the third period. Goal was scored by Francesco Pinelli, an assist from D-man Angus Booth and Kirill Kirsanov. For Pinelli, his 11th goal of the season. He said Eric Portillo stopped 23 of 26 shots, but took the loss. Iowa's 4th goal was an empty netter. And Iowa's goalie was former King and Reign netminder Cal Peterson, who stopped 20 of 21 shots for the win. So Cal Peterson is still bumping around in the hockey world and still getting paid very well. That contract he got from the Kings, I think he's still getting paid on that contract, probably the final year of it. But anyway, on to Saturday, March the 21st, when the Reign once again played in Iowa against the Wild. And this time the Reign would win it 3-1. Phoenix Copley stopped 26 out of 27 shots. Both teams played well with energy, checked well, but the Reign managed to effectively raise the game up a notch late to seal the win. Score was 1-0 Iowa in the middle of the first period until the Reign got their first goal in the last minutes of the second. Martin Chromiak streaked down the right side and rifled the puck in front of where Nikita Alexandrov put it in to tie it up at 1. That's his 12th goal of the season. Last 5 minutes of the third period, Chromiak stole the puck again, came in on the right side where his shot was blocked but not controlled. Chromiak went behind the goal, but staying just behind the rear corner of the net, he reached around and tapped the loose puck in for the goal, his 22nd of the year. In the last minutes, Iowa pulled their goalie, but the Reign held them off. Andre Lee scored the death blow empty net goal when he out-hustled one opposing player, used his acceleration to catch up with the second opposing player who he muscled off the puck before going in alone and putting in the empty net for his 25th goal of the season. Chromiak was selected the number 1 star with a goal and an assist. And that's a report from Don in the San Fernando Valley giving us details on 3 games involving the Ontario Reign. No details from me, but I can tell you the Reign did play tonight on Wednesday night, and they did lose 3-1 to the Henderson Silver Knights. So we'll get a report from Don in the San Fernando Valley on that game coming up probably next week. As I mentioned, the Reign are on top of the Pacific Division. They have an overall record of 40 17-5. They've got a pair of games coming up this weekend. Well, Friday and Saturday. They'll be in Tucson to take on the Tucson Roadrunners. So good things going on for the LA Kings AHL affiliate, the Ontario Reign. Hey, thanks for tuning in, and make sure you subscribe and follow Locked on LA Kings so you get all the latest episodes. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked on LA Kings ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedonlakings.supercast.com. For you everydayers, those of you that listen and watch Locked on LA Kings every day, our next show will be a recap of what will be, God willing, a win by the Kings over the Vancouver Canucks. Boy, if they do not win that game, that is going to be a bitter, sour episode. Don't forget, at the end of the week, we have our fan feedback show. Anything on your mind involving the Kings, anything you want to talk about, your chance to share your opinions. And the email address to get an email in for that is lockedoneddie@gmail.com, EDDIE. You're always welcome to post your thoughts if you're watching on YouTube in the comment section. You guys do a great job of that. And we would love for you to stay connected with the show on social media, X, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We're at Locked on LA Kings. I'm Eddie Garcia. If you want to see more of me, you can check out the Locked on NHL Game Night YouTube and podcast. It recaps the night in the NHL. I'm on the show Thursday through Sunday. Also, the Puck Podcast, a weekly NHL review podcast coming up on its 20th year of covering the league. And if you want to support me and get some extra Kings coverage, there's also LA Kings Extra as well. You can send me an email. I'll give you the details on that. All right. Again, I'm Eddie Garcia. Thank you for listening and watching Locked on LA Kings, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you next time. And as always, go Kings, go.